everyone. I'm Erin Grady, Manager of Education and Knowledge Management at the Global Cold Chain Alliance. Welcome to today's second virtual innovation program session, Warehouse Automation Advances for a Changing Cold Storage Supply Chain. If this is your first time joining us for a virtual event, let me take a moment to tell you about the GoToWebinar system. On the side of your screen, you'll find the attendee interface. Use the orange arrow to show and hide your control panel. The top section of the interface is the audio pane. By default, you're listening in using your computer's mic and speakers. During this session, recorded video with sound will be played. The sound on the videos will play through your computer speakers, so be sure the volume is turned up on your machine. Phone lines will be muted throughout the event. Use the questions pane to communicate with us if you experience technical difficulty and to submit questions for our speakers. In the handout section of the GoToWebinar interface, you'll find additional materials provided by the speakers for your information. Simply click on the file to download. We're proud to have Jamieson Door Company as our thought leadership sponsor in the facility operations education track supporting the program today and over the course of the next month. Jamieson Door manufactures insulated doors for all cold storage applications: swinging, horizontal, sliding, overhead, vertical sliding, manual, and power doors for cooler and freezer applications. Products include high-performance Jamieson cold storage doors, HCR air doors, sound reduction and specialty doors, JMO Tough architectural style doors, and BMP high-speed roll-up doors. You can find more information about them by visiting their B2B meeting suite in the B2B company directory, locating their representatives in the attendee directory, or by clicking on their sponsor logo on the homepage of the program to connect with them. Without their generous support, the program would not have been possible. Now, I'd like to welcome today's speakers, Craig Keenan, Sales Director with Swisslog Americas, and Mike Buenger, General Manager with Lineage Logistics. Craig and Mike, thanks for being here today. Please take it away.
Thank you, Erin. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We have a full program today. What we thought we'd do, rather than strictly go through a presentation and update, is to have a bit of a little interface between a manufacturer and an actual end user. So that's why we have Michael there with us today. I'll let Michael introduce himself.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon to everybody. My name's Mike Buenger, as previously stated. I work over here at Lineage Logistics, specifically at our Sunnyvale, Texas location, just if there's any curiosity out of that. I'm the General Manager of Automation. I've had the privilege of working with Swisslog and Craig over the last, I would say, 18 months to 2 years. I'm rolling out a beautiful facility over here, and can't wait to teach or show what we've learned and talk a little bit about automation this afternoon.
Thanks, Mike. Today's agenda, we'll give a little intro as to who Swisslog is for those of you who don't know, and as well a little intro on Lineage. I won't take too much time with that. And then what we want to do is just talk about the general challenges and trends in the marketplace, a brief overview, and then we'll talk about why automation. Basically, we'll talk about two reasons: the general reasons that a market goes into automation, and specifically why Lineage is looking at automation within their network. Then we'll talk about the actual case study for the Lineage site in Sunnyvale, Texas, and then we'll talk about broad technologies that are available for cold storage automation. At the end of our session, we'll have a Q&A, and more than happy to answer your questions. Megan? Well, Swisslog is a global integrator and manufacturer of warehouse automation equipment. We are a division of KUKA Robotics. KUKA makes actual robot arms for the automotive industry and the aerospace industry. Swisslog is a global company. We are based out of Buch, Switzerland, and the KUKA offices are in Augsburg, Germany. We have offices in Europe. We have a North American division, which is the Americas, based out of Newport News, Virginia, and an APAC division in the Far East. Megan? These are some of the technologies. We'll go in a little more detail later on as to what we produce and don't produce and what we use as integration. But basically and we'll talk about the levels of automation that may be of interest to the people today. Mike?
So here's a little bit about Lineage. So we'll dig into it in just a second. But Lineage is a global cold storage company. We sit across the globe on 5 different continents with over 300 locations. So let's take a quick look at this video. It'll be a nice quick introduction for the team.
I freeze on you?
There we go.
Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, absolutely. So taking a look at this slide, this kind of highlights where Lineage sits in the marketplace. So it's really a farm to market opportunity right there in the middle between the farm and the grocery store shelves or your local restaurant is kind of where Lineage sits, right? And our company, our goal is to optimize the food supply chain to eliminate waste and really help feed the world. And we do that from how we take products in to how we sort and ship to taking care and shepherding food from farm to table. This is just a quick facility map. I know I had mentioned previously that we're on about 5 continents. Well, not about exactly 5 continents, but we have a very strong footprint here in the North Americas. In the Asian Pacific area, we also have a very strong presence in Europe, and then as well, we do have a site in South America. Overall, our company currently has over 15,000 employees and well over 300 facilities worldwide.
Megan?
All right. This slide, right, it's always nice to talk with slides to have something out there, but I think the key is the growth that Lineage is going through. So we are going to aggressively grow in this marketplace. We are a customer-centric, customer-focused company. So our goal is to fit into that marketplace wherever we need to achieve that getting food from farm to table as quickly and consistently as possible with the highest quality. So we're looking at, hey, how do we service our customers? How do we efficiently maximize space, right? And both those things are key terms when we talk about automation. How do we guard against difficult labor markets? And I know we're going to get into that a little bit later, but there's areas where there's tight labor markets, not just here in the US, but across the globe. And especially during COVID, right? I think that we can highlight definitely some information around that. And then we want to leverage fully automated distribution models and technology to deploy with our new automated greenfield projects as we continue to grow as a company.
Thanks, Michael. I think what we'd like to start with here is a little bit, just look at what the general operational challenges are and trends in the marketplace. We'll give you a brief overview and then sort of dive down into site-specific and new technologies. So the first of the operational expenses. Globally, everybody's seeing rising energy costs, and even in places where energy costs have been consistent, everybody's trying to be a steward of the environment and drive as much energy usage down as possible. We're seeing increased real estate costs across the board, and even pre-COVID, we were seeing some major labor availability and cost issues. Challenges and trends in the working environment. Obviously, in cold storage, we've got reduced labor force, as we talked about earlier. We also have a harsh work environment that requires specialized equipment, specialized people, and higher levels of training. And we're also seeing a heavy increase in government regulations, and that's creating quite a challenge at the local level. Megan? So these are the trends right now that are driving some of the changes that are going on in the warehouses. We're seeing a major increase in segments. Seeing a delivery, a lot of switch to e-com and the type of product that you guys are delivering and storing, and then a greater variety in SKUs in terms of proliferation. We'll go into this a little more. The one great challenge that we're not seeing on here, of course, is the present COVID-19 situation. So let's talk a little bit about that. Next slide, Megan. So this is a little dive there we saw early in March. I know we've all been dealing with this. And the interesting thing is that during that time period, the cold storage food and beverage business has actually trended slightly upward. The general marketplace is down as high as 20%. The food and beverage industry seems to have had a modest gain of about 0.7%. But that there's obviously two segments or a number of segments within that food and beverage industry. And what we wanted to show here was a little bit of the change in daily seated restaurant diners given COVID-19. So what you'll see is in the sort of early March when the lockdowns happened, we saw a huge drop off, right down basically to shut. And then a general trend back that actually up until September 1st was actually looking quite good. With the lockdowns that have happened recently, we're seeing a bit of a drop off. And depending on how the fall season goes and whether this continues, we may see a little bit more of this, hopefully not. Mike, do these figures reflect what Lineage is seeing?
I would say absolutely, Craig, and it's going to be different for different mode mixes. You know, in early March, as you can see on here, a lot of the restaurants shut down. So a lot of the turns and slower moving freight that used to be fast moving to restaurants. And when I'm referring to freight, I'm referring to food. I'm referring to a lot of different proteins, you know, specific restaurant quality items. They stopped moving, right? So what happened? We saw an uptick in different types of product being introduced in our supply chain with a higher demand and higher velocity. So when it came to ready to eat items, that stuff started to fill the spots before where we were holding on to certain proteins for steakhouses, let's say. All of a sudden we have microwave pocket sandwiches or pizzas that are trying to get in so we can deliver to the customers and take care of the country.
Megan? So this sort of dives into Mike's comment about the ready-to-eat meal market. As you can see, 2020 showing a huge upward trend, close to 30% uptick, and this has been historically about a 5% growth across the market. Obviously, Lineage is seeing this, and Mike, from a sales point of view, when you're looking at this kind of trend, does Lineage have they adjusted the targeting of any of the types of clients they're doing? Are you trying to work around the present client base?
We're customer driven, Craig. So whatever we can do to help facilitate moving freight safely and efficiently is all we want to do. So I don't think we're changing who we're targeting, right? We're really just making sure we have enough occupancy and capacity to take care of what needs to happen in the country. You've seen it shift gears many times, right? So we've had to pivot, and we want to make sure that we're aggressively growing during this to help take care of our customers, to take care of their customers, and so on and so forth.
So in the last little while globally, we've seen a sort of an uptick in the order intake on automation. Obviously, at this point in time, some of the commissioning is a little slower due to restrictions and travel issues. Obviously, finding labor, finding installers has been very difficult, which most people in the industry are seeing. Is Lineage planning to continue globally and as aggressive as you have been in the automation business?
I don't think that we can stop. I don't think our customers are going to stop. I don't think that and think's a tough term, right? I don't see the demand for food or frozen food stopping. I see it continuing to grow. A lot more is being driven. Customers are ordering specifics now, right? Where a lot you used to be able to ship in full pallet quantities all the time, right? And people just had automatic Kanbans and they were just reordering stock to meet a minimum quantity. Where now we're being asked, hey, can we have this just-in-time inventory? We need these specific SKUs shipped at this time with this cadence. And I don't think that anybody can afford to stop growing right now. I think we need to keep driving hard to take care of it right now and also provide the opportunity on the other side to be able to facilitate getting stock to restaurants and taking care of different parts and nodes in the supply chain.
In your Lineage values, you stress the importance of your individual team members and the safety in the workplace. How are you guys addressing this in this difficult time?
Well, I can tell you this, Craig. Our values: safe, trust, respect, innovation, bold, servant leadership. You mentioned, or I mentioned, right? I'm sorry, safe first. COVID has been challenging. It has been interesting. It's been a dynamic. If I speak for myself personally, I've never had to deal with something like this before. So when it comes to, hey, social distancing, right? We hear about it on TV. We're all practicing it at the grocery store. How do you do that in startup environments where you're picking product, right? And effectively communicate what your teams need to know. So if it's like placing visual management on the floor so people understand where to stand during certain events so they can get the information they need, to one-way traffic flows for team members coming in order to clock in with footprints on the ground in order to maintain order through that. Sanitation products for the team. We're sanitizing the equipment between shifts. And, to be honest with you, of course, everyone has dealt with positive cases, right? And, we can't talk about specifics, but I could tell you that, we took extreme precautions every step of the way, from mask wearing to sanitizing the building. If we did have a case happen, we sanitized the whole building, we communicated to the teams, and we did everything we possibly could at any step to keep the team safe. But it's definitely been a challenge, and it's been an interesting 2020 so far.
I think for all of us. Okay, let's talk a little bit about why automation in general. We've got a short video here of Lineage and what their thought process is, and then we'll go into detail about our partnership.
Ask anyone in the global food supply chain what the next big thing is, and you'll get one answer: automation. Automated warehousing and logistics help food growers and producers satisfy the worldwide demand for safer, higher quality fresh and frozen products, while also reducing costs, delivery time, energy usage, and food waste. At Lineage Logistics, the automation revolution has already begun. As the industry leader and most dynamic temperature-controlled storage and logistics company, we've built the world's largest network of automated facilities. And we're driving the latest advances by investing more in infrastructure and know-how. When products arrive at our automated warehouses, they move seamlessly through facilities designed in part by our data science team to multiply storage density and capacity while using less energy. Our proprietary Lineage Eye offers unrivaled product visibility by scanning every product for intuitive storage and retrieval, which means maximum flexibility and maximum responsiveness for our customers. At Lineage, we're applying science to design and build the next generation of automated cold storage facilities for our customers. We're committed to innovation that helps preserve, protect, and optimize the distribution of food. With reductions in time and resources and gains in sustainability and overall efficiency, we're achieving real results by putting the automation ideas of tomorrow into action today. Lineage Logistics, reimagining the world's food supply chain.
Okay, so this is the why automation in our industry. Why in the global cold chain alliance? Well, why? These are the basic drivers across the market right now, and everybody's looking for because of the cost of refrigeration and the storage density. They're looking for smaller building footprints, tax advantages. There's improved order accuracy. We look through, and Michael, are any of these specifically driven toward the Sunnyvale site? What would you say are the most important?
I think there's the whole bunch of them that fit that criterion. I would say, hey, smaller building footprint. The Sunnyvale building, it wasn't a greenfield, it was an expansion. And the automated facility being 24,000 pallets. Our legacy facility here was about 30,000-ish pallets, depending on how profiled. And that was over 300,000 square feet. So in order to build another 24,000 pallet locations and only leverage, what was it, 110,000 square feet total footprint, not exactly the size of the refrigerated building, but we were landlocked, right? Direct and indirect, not just labor savings, but I would also say, I mentioned servant leadership as one of our values. that cold, harsh environment is tough. It's tough on people. The great thing about robots is they can get cold and we can take care of them without having it an uncomfortable work environment. So taking care of our teams, reduce damage, big one for us. I know not just for us, but in general warehousing, you know, picking, pulling, having stuff staged in an aisle, it gets hit, it gets spun, it gets pallets break, they fall. Giving us an opportunity to directly put stuff away and take it out is extremely important. And it's just-in-time inventory for us too, with the way we handle it in the building, because it's so efficient. Controlling of downtime, safety. You don't have people bending and picking up stuff with the same cadence you did before. Improved order accuracy, improved inventory accuracy, and control of quarantine products. I think those three just lean on each other and really take care of it, because in a traditional warehousing environment, you're using, you know, caution tape. You're using it in your WMS to say, hey, these items are quarantined, or this is on QA hold. Leveraging the automation and the thought behind it, right, and that intelligence to say, hey, these pallets can't come out. I know they got put away in the right location. I know those pallets are on hold. I know they're not coming out in an automated warehouse. So those are some really big, quick wins. That's the low-hanging fruit that really helps us be the most efficient that we can and provide an extremely safe work environment, not just for our team members, but for our downstream customers as well.
Thanks, Mike. Megan? So what we'd like to talk about now is the actual site in Sunnyvale. It'll give you an idea of the collaboration between our two companies. The design and implementation of this project was a joint venture. The Swisslog design and consulting team worked very closely with the Lineage data science team. The site right now is Lineage is actually running the software side of it, the WCS, WMS, and the automation has been provided and integrated by Swisslog. We'll talk a little more detail about the actual site design in a little while and go through what the drivers were. But at this point, I'd like to give Mike a little chance to show and just explain the basics of the site.
Absolutely, Craig. Thank you. And I just want to highlight it was done absolutely in partnership. And Swisslog has just been a great partner through the process. You know, everybody has their strengths, and we got to play to everybody's strengths, so it was a lot of fun. So the building size, I mentioned 110,000 square foot total footprint right here. You can see that it's 96,000 square foot high bay. It's broken up into 3 modules. So think of it as one giant room that's partitioned 3 ways. Where those partitions are, there's carts. There's 27 aisle carts. So those carts run up and down the channels, right, or your bays up and down just like a regular warehouse aisle, but it's non-occupied space. Inside each one of those aisle carriers is a row carrier, and this is another partnership. So I believe this is the first time Swisslog in partnership was able to use these type of carts in a frozen environment. So we did some things in that partnership in an extremely innovative way, because batteries wouldn't probably last that long in a freezer. So those little carts inside the aisle carts that actually go into the channels to get the product run, and they separate themselves from the aisle cart, they get it. Once again, it was broken into 3 modules. Each one of those modules has 3 vertical conveyors, and 3's for a reason. So you have inbound, outbound, and then what we call combi or combination. That provides some of the additional redundancy in the system design that we have. It ensures that if we need to get a product in, we can get a product in, and when we need to get a product out, it provides us the opportunity, no matter what's going on, to go ahead and retrieve that product. It's mentioned on here how many linear feet of conveyor we have, about 2,700. I think there's like 350 drives on the dock alone running that conveyor. 24,000 pallet positions, operating temperature 0 plus or minus 3 degrees. This is an important one. So we're talking about 24,000 pallets. We can achieve a throughput of 367 pallets an hour. So if you take a look at what a normal truckload is, if it's, you know, let's say 26 trucks or 26 pallets, excuse me, we can do a very good amount of work in a very small optimized space, similar to what a larger warehouse would do, maybe out of 15 doors. Which gives us some pretty cool throughput numbers, and really gives us the advantage to take care of our customers. Going to that throughput number, that truck turn time So from anywhere in that high bay, those 24,000 pallet locations, we send a message to say, hey, retrieve these pallets. Once we send that message to retrieve a pallet, from anywhere in the high bay, we can get that down to a dock staging location ready to load in less than 9 minutes. Year of commissioning 2019, and 2020 has been interesting, but I can't wait to see what 2021 and beyond look like.
Mike, where's the trigger point for when you decide to pull orders? I mean, does it start at the gate? Does it start when the truck arrives?
So currently, the way we're handling it is when the driver checks into traffic, and we actually tell the driver or the carrier, hey, we would like you to go to door 5. Systematically, a door selected through one of our proprietary algorithms that picks the best door for their product and what's going on the system at any given time. Once that door is automatically selected, get door, it's a momentary button. That driver moves to door, those pallets automatically start pulling. By the time that driver makes it to the door, those pallets are there. And then in the future, we're using something called Lineage Link and a driver app. We're really hoping to geofence the building and do an automated check-in process. So we know, hey, when the driver hits just outside of our gate, they're automatically going to get a door populated to them through our driver app, and the pallets would pull then. They would be able to back right in, and we'd be able to load them and get them in and out in 30 minutes would be the hope.
So right now you've got 15 dock doors in the new high bay expansion on the dock area. How are you finding the ratio of doors to inbound?
So that's something in the beginning I was really concerned about. Door pressure is a lot, and just in the experiences I've had in cold storage with product, I was like, how are we going to make this work for us? But I would tell you, leveraging those 6 inbound lanes on the dock and with the speed that we can typically receive product, it's quicker than a typical inbound on the other side, on the legacy side, when I refer to the other side, excuse me. And especially from, and I know you asked me about inbound, I'll tell you from an outbound perspective, we can turn those doors in about 40 minutes. Once a truck is in the door, we can load a 30 pallet outbound, all double pinwheeled or sideways, however you'd like to state it, in about 35, 40 minutes and get them out the door.
Fantastic. I think we'll talk a little bit more in detail. I'll show up sort of a drawing of the site and give everybody a little idea what it looks like. But in the meantime, here's a short video on the collaboration and the actual site.
So Lineage Logistics is an international warehousing and logistics company with over 300 facilities worldwide across 11 countries. Our purpose statement is to transform the food supply chain, to eliminate waste, and to help feed the world. And we do that by preserving, protecting, and optimizing the distribution of food. Lineage being a customer-driven organization, automation allows us to serve our customers to a much higher level of precision and accuracy and consistency than we are able to do in a manual warehouse.
We are always trying to be on the cutting edge of what's next, and it's not just for our sake, it's how do we optimize the food supply chain to take care of our customers' needs to help feed the world. We only had so much land, we're being landlocked, right? So how do we take a finite amount of resource and turn it into a maximum output? So with building a 96,000 square foot facility and having well over 24,000 pallet positions is not something that we would be able to do in any other type of footprint or with a legacy warehouse. The Swisslog Power Store system, from an ASRS perspective, provided us opportunity for higher throughput and greater amounts of redundancy than some legacy crane style operations.
Power Store is a very deeply integrated system that is a complete package. Many times you run across automated systems that are separate pieces talking to each other in very specific ways to perform an overall function. Power Store and the ASR system from Swisslog is deeply integrated to provide that full product seamlessly.
Typically this system right now can average around 9 minutes from when we first send our first message to bring a pallet down to when that pallet is at a staging location ready to ship.
With collaboration with Swisslog, we've been able to gather preventative maintenance schedules that allow us to maintain this equipment efficiently and also help improve the lifespan of the equipment going forward. Working with Swisslog and the Power Store team throughout this project allowed us to have a very collaborative environment where we could troubleshoot together, where we could diagnose issues together, and bring the system to its peak operating state.
So having such a successful launch into automation at our Sunnyvale location with Swisslog, this really opens up all kinds of possibilities that we hadn't even considered prior to this venture. It's going to inform how we look at new builds or expansions going forward, and it's going to allow us to achieve that purpose and our vision to a much higher degree for our customers, for our team members, and for our community at large.
I know this may be difficult for everybody to see, but this is a plan view of the actual layout. The drawing south end of the building, you can see the inbound lanes. You can see the truck doors at the very south end. The actual dock area is a cooler dock, and there are 6 inbound lanes. You can see the 4 squares. The interior 2 areas are dual lanes. And then each of those areas has a reject station. So we'll talk a little bit about that with Mike. The collaboration on this area, we have our standard profile station for inbound for checking loads, checking deflection of pallets, checking the height, tilt, overall size and weight of products. But in between there, in that area, is also the Lineage Eye, which is a proprietary scanner that Lineage has used, a photo scanner. And Mike, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, I could do that, Craig. Thank you. So Craig mentioned all the lanes on the dock. There's 27 outbound lanes. There's the 6 inbound lanes and 4 shared rework platforms. On those 6 inbound lanes, we have, in addition to the Swisslog iPoint, we have our Lineage Eye. That Lineage Eye takes and looks at and synthesizes photos from the front of the pallet, from the back of the pallet, from the sides of the pallet, from the bottom of the pallet, from the top of the pallet. It's over 150 high resolution photos that we take. We're infrared scanning for temperature. We are automatically counting through certain algorithms tie-high, so we're able to establish quantities on a pallet without hard counting the pallet. There's an algorithm for that. There's also, we do some OCR, so we're able to, if there is product information, code date, SKU information, we're able to capture that information and do single pallet receiving, so that operator on the dock is driving 20 feet back and forth from that inbound lane to the truck as efficiently as possible. They don't have to stage the whole load. They don't have to check the whole load. We're doing single pallet receiving. We're incrementing up as we receive through our dock app. We're understanding how many pallets we received. We're taking temperatures, front, middle, back. Everything's automatically populated, as well as the scans that we're taking with the Lineage Eye with the infrared thermometer. That's just a redundant temperature check for us.
Thanks, Mike. The idea of the 27 lanes, we divvied them up into 3 sections to sort of match the 3 modules for inbound and outbound. And the idea was that you would have 3 lanes per trailer and have 3 outbound doors and 2 inbound doors as necessary. Is that working out well?
I think it's great. I mentioned that we have this automatic door picking algorithm that we use, right? I feel like we use algorithms for everything these days. But we're able to optimize our door selection and then marry it to those lanes. So when we put, if it's broken into 3s, right? If you take 15 dock doors and you divide it by 3, let's just use the loose term of 5. We're using 5 dock doors per all those 9 conveyors. So we're putting 3 outbound at a time into those areas and leveraging 3 outbound lanes per door, which gives us the opportunity. I mentioned that 9-minute time period. In staging on the dock, we'll pull up to 15 pallets while that truck's moving over, so that operator's never running out of pallets. They're not the bottleneck in the process, or the system's not the bottleneck in the process. they have a small staging, and as they take their first pallet off of that conveyor and that photo sensor is no longer made, that pallet presence sensor, the system's automatically retrieving pallet 16. They take pallet 2, the system's automatically receiving or getting pallet 17, and so on and so forth till they get to the last pallet. They've never had to wait. We've been able to leverage the doors seamlessly, and the outbound lanes to doors has worked out really well.
Fantastic. One of the interesting things is, I think if the attendees were looking at the video, you might have seen that the drop-off point on the inbound lanes and the outbound lanes has a facility that was designed to be able to run a pallet jack on there and pick the pallets too deep. This never went into operation, mostly because of the way that the outbound pallets were being staged into the trailers. Is that still the case? Is there any chance you would ever do that in the future?
It's interesting. At least it provides us that flexibility. Like I said, the system's never the choke point. It's never the point where we're waiting on product. It was designed to use double pallet jacks to load and unload, right? Which would be the most efficient way possible. But being in a 3PL environment and being really customer focused, it was important for us not to conform to what we thought we needed to do. We needed to be able to handle, pallets that are side loaded. We needed to be able to up stack and down stack and take care of whatever's sent to us and then ship kind of whatever's asked of us. So we did move to a docker, right, and a regular dock forklift for loading and unloading of trailers. But in the future, Craig, if we did have a customer that, did 26 pallet trailers, all full pallet, and they were run straight in, we'd be able to do it very quickly and very efficiently. And not that we're doing right now is not, but it does give us that option in the future.
Fantastic. So if you look at the larger box in the middle area, you'll see that there's a dividing wall in there between the dock area cool and the freezer zone on the north side. It's a little tough to see on the slide here, but those green sections, elements that are on the south side is actually a cooler loop. So the system was designed in order to have a full freezer loop in blue above and a full cooler loop. The idea behind this is that obviously mechanical equipment breaks, it requires maintenance at times, and we wanted to be able to use the advanced algorithms that were being put forward for this job to make sure that if we had to put any of the areas into sort of long-term failure or just even short-term failure for maintenance, that every single entranceway into the system, every inbound lane could place a pallet through the vestibules into the freezer and be put in any of the modules. The 3 squares you'll see at the top, Mike talked a little bit about earlier, trying to maximize flexibility here. There are 3 vertical lifts feeding the 3 main aisles. This is the power store system or cart-based system that we'll talk a little bit about later. But basically, the northwest vertical lift is the inbound primary. The southeast is the outbound primary, and then the southwest vertical lift is actually the combi lift that Mike talked about earlier. So that combi lift, we have the ability to change over from an inbound to an outbound at any given time during the shifts to maximize throughput. The last thing here, obviously, is the put away algorithm. One of the things Mike needed to talk about is, we're entering pallets at doors, but obviously you have a system that's 8 deep, 10 deep. We actually have back-to-back rows that go together, so we're looking at being able to run them as FIFO lanes, putting away in one module, picking from another. We have to talk about load balancing. So right now your algorithm is set up to balance across the 3 modules, so you don't get product trapped in any given module.
Yeah, those are all really good points, Craig. Another interesting thing when we talk about redundancy, as you mentioned, the freezer loop and the dock loop. Even in between those loops, there's some high-speed roll-up doors from when you enter from the refrigerated environment of the dock to the freezer environment of the actual high bay. We also set up those so that they can be omnidirectional as well. So of the 9 doors, 3 of them were able to flex back and forth, and there's an air lock or air vestibule in between them. So in a cold storage environment, we wanted to have an area where we weren't pulling moisture into the freezer. Everyone knows when you start pulling moisture into the freezer, you get ice, right? That's how you get ice buildup on the inside of your freezer at home. So how do we eliminate that? So it comes in, it's almost like Star Wars. You shut the door on one side, the pallet's in there. It's a nice dry environment. It's not necessarily hot, but it's hotter than the temperature on the dock or in the freezer. So the air is nice and dry. Then the door on the other side opens and that pallet continues in, stops us from getting ice on customers' product, ice in our freezers, and provides us redundancy in case of breakdown or downtime on any one of those doors going in or out on those modules as well.
Obviously, Texas has had some pretty hot summers over the last 2 years. Have you seen any difference?
You know, I won't say we have zero ice buildup inside of that freezer, but it's been so minimum, right? So even on a lot of our legacy warehouses, we have high-speed roll-up doors from the cooler of the cooler temperature dock and the freezer. But that humid air, you're backing in a trailer, if it's exposed for more than a couple minutes, you end up pulling that air in and you get ice, right? And when we talk about safety, someone's got to go chip that ice. It's not fun. You have to be safe when doing it. It's not good for product integrity either. So we've seen such a reduction in that in this automated high bay that we've built with you, Craig. It's not even a worry of mine anymore when it was something I had to address all the time before.
Fantastic. The last thing is fire protection within the system. We had actually talked at one point during the design phase, I think before you were involved, about putting in low oxygen. That obviously for local code reasons wasn't followed through on. We have a sort of a more standardized system. Is that something you guys are talking about in the future?
You know, I can't speak to that as we progress through more facilities. I know we do have facilities specifically in Europe that we run the reduced oxygen within the high bays in some of our crane systems. But for fire suppression, you nailed it on the head. It's going to kind of be whatever the local ordinances are for the municipalities. And at the end of the day, our goal is to keep the team safe. So whatever we're going to do that, whatever training we need to take care of, we're definitely going to hone in on that and make sure our knives are nice and sharp.
Fantastic. But one last thing on this slide, that we at the end of the project, we added on a little addition that goes out into your existing warehouse. Could you explain how that's being utilized?
Absolutely. So over to the right side of your slide, you're going to see a little area off the side of the high bay, and there's like 10 blue locations in the northwest corner of the slide. What that is we call that our spur area. So once we really started to look at this and we talked about how customers order and making sure we can fulfill exact requirements of those orders, we needed a way to take out and introduce case pick. So we introduced 10 static locations that are assigned in our manual warehouse and are part of our dynamic warehousing system, that as cases need to be dropped or replenishments need to come out, they come to those. They're automatically driven to case pick locations on our level 1 on our legacy side of the building. And then at the bottom of that, there's actually another Swisslog eye point. So we pick the cases, we PID it, and then we place it back on an induction lane inside of the freezer just adjacent to the high bay, so that when that case pick is complete, we place it on the system. It goes into the system to go hang out with its peers that are going to come out when that outbound comes to the door. And it gives us more flexibility to take care of our customers' needs and specific order requirements.
Fantastic. Thanks, Mike. Megan? So let's just talk about automation in general, what's available in the marketplace and what approaches our clients are taking. This goes from just base systems right up until to completely automated systems. So from the high bay warehouse point of view, the two base products that are out there right now, and Mike talked a little bit about this, is the legacy cranes. They're out there. The Swisslog crane is called the Victura crane, and the Power Store shuttle storage, which we just showed you in terms of the actual Sunnyvale site. Megan? So crane-based systems, there are 3 to 4 styles of systems out there, and most of these are designed around your client base. As a 3PL, Lineage was trying to keep their system as flexible as possible, but crane-based systems right now are either telescopic forks or shuttle-based. So you'll see a little bit in this video that's running in the background. We can handle 1 deep, double deep, even triple deep, depending on the weights and heights. We have cranes available up to 164 feet in height, and from temperatures of -22 up until 122. You'll also see the double handling, actually 2 pallets at the same time. Right now, I believe Lineage, a couple of the sites you're working on are actually crane-based with a mole shuttle that run anywhere from 3 to 6 deep, depending on the application. Megan? So this is the power store system, which you saw, which is a shuttle-based system. Again, the depth of this is only driven by the capacitor or battery, depending on the application of the row carts, as to how deep you can go. Run systems anywhere from just a couple deep to as high as 16, 18 deep. And the Lineage system, actually right now, because of the way we're running FIFO, we could end up with lanes as deep as 18. Megan? So the trend these days, where everything's going, and we'll talk a little bit about it with Mike, is going fully automated. Now, the Sunnyvale site hasn't gone to this degree of automation, but the big trend out there is this AC pack, which is actual picking, automated picking, using robotics and bringing the stored product from the high bay warehouse, to break it down and put it into the warehouse and have it rebuilt into stable broken case loads. So Michael, I know we talked a little bit about it. We were talking about it for your site. Lineage is looking at it for other sites. How much of the business now is being driven by small case quantity?
Almost all of it. With customer demand and with the flexibility and need to pivot for customer requirements, it's more and more, how do we get it out of the system? How do we get it to the customers? They don't want a layer sometimes. They don't want a full pallet. They want 3 cases of SKU ABC. So really needing the flexibility to pick on demand and offer that as a solution it's extremely important. I mean, trying to eliminate waste, you don't want to send too much, you don't want to send too little, you want to send just the right amount of stuff.
So interestingly enough, I mean, as a 3PL, it's going to be a little bit difficult in terms of some of the robotic picking technology at this point in time. I kind of liken the robot to your 17-year-old just before you send them off to university. It's the head of the person that needs the $250,000-$300,000 training session to make it work. With the variety of products and the flexibility required, you'll obviously have to make your own decisions as to whether or not this is the right fit for you as a 3PL. It's certainly something that we're seeing a lot more in end users and clients that are running strictly for manufacturing and doing their own e-commerce picking.
I couldn't agree more, Craig. And you said a key word up there earlier, yet or before. The future is limitless, and the more we know, the more questions we learn to ask, and the more we're learning. So tomorrow brings some really cool stuff with it, and some of the technology you guys have out there with this AC pack is absolutely incredible.
Megan? So the glue that ties us all together is the warehouse management systems. I will say that this was an interesting project for everybody involved. We went down the path of supplying the warehouse management software, but working with Lineage and their software group, we made the decision sort of partway down through the project to basically relinquish control and let Lineage take control of the system. So in this case, they're actually running their own WCS and WMS. Swisslog as an integrator is certainly capable of using our sync software from manual right up to fully automated, including AC pack, integrating multiple forms of equipment. Those we produce and those that we integrate, and look forward to telling you a little bit more about the software and how things work in the future. At this point, I don't think we have a whole lot of time left, but Mike, so far was an interesting last 9-10 months as we commissioned, going through and trying to put the software teams together. Looks like it's working out pretty well now.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And you said it, through commissioning. We did all this with Swisslog, right? So Lineage provided some backbone that we wanted to have in there, and Swisslog was so flexible and said, hey, this is what we can provide you. These are the IOs. This is the information you're looking for. How do we integrate it, right? So I think the end solution's been really good, but I think we both learned a little bit along the way. I know we did, and excited to see where it takes us in the future.
We certainly learned a lot in the process as well. Well, thank you, everyone. Appreciate your attendance. we're opening it to the Q&A session. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to fire away.
Thanks, Craig. Thanks, Mike. This is Erin again from GCCA. I'll remind our audience to go ahead and type their questions into the questions pane on the GoTo webinar panel there on the right-hand side of your screen. We've had a couple of questions come in so far. Mike, this might be a question for you, but Craig, feel free to jump in as you've worked closely on the project. Can you guys speak to the level of staffing that is needed in sort of a partial automation warehouse, like what you've set up for Mike there with Lineage? Has your staffing level gone down, gone up, stayed the same? And what do you look for in the future with that?
So that's an interesting question, and not being a complete greenfield and being an expansion, of course, our headcount went up. We didn't stop doing the business we were doing on the legacy side of the building. We just added an additional workload to what we're doing. But I could tell you that at certain points in time in that 30,000 square foot facility, we had well over 200 team members in the building. With the expansion project that we put together with Swisslog, those 24,000 pallet positions, our head count ranges anywhere between 28 and 32, depending on how busy we really are. So from an overall staffing perspective, it's a different group of people. It's a different type of people. You're looking for different skill sets to do different things at different times. But overall, it's definitely a lesser head count.
Great, thanks so much for that. The next question comes in. They ask, what driver app is being used to alert the presence of a driver and automatically directs them to and opens a door for them to back up to?
So that is our Lineage Link software, and it's brand new. It's a Lineage proprietary app that we're using. So we have a self-scheduling portal that we have set up for our customers to schedule loads that they have coming in and out and get confirmation numbers. We haven't gone 100% to the driver app yet. It's something we really have in pilot, but it's called Lineage Link. It's a proprietary to Lineage, and that driver app is called just that. It's called the driver app, and that's how the driver would interface with our software.
Great.
Just for those who aren't Lineage, Mike, I think you guys actually at one point were talking to Pink about a version of that as well, in case anybody else wants to look.
Yep, we do have a yard management system here too, as Craig mentioned with Pink. So we tried to fully integrate every step of the process and create a software stack that allowed us to be as efficient as possible and provide the best experience for people coming into the building, drivers coming into the building, carriers, as well as efficiently being able to take care of our customers' needs on their orders.
Great, thanks so much for that information. Craig, this one might be directed to you, but Mike, of course, feel free to jump in. Can you speak to what type of maintenance broadly is needed when you're putting in some of these systems? Are these things maintained over a matter of months, over a matter of years? Sort of what does a typical maintenance schedule look like?
Well, that's interesting. Lineage is actually doing their own maintenance on this system. So the way the collaboration worked is we had our maintenance staff on site throughout the commissioning, and the commissioning period here was quite a bit longer than would be normal if we had done sort of a full turnkey system, because we were working with Lineage and they were testing their software and bringing it online and working with our team. We actually, during the installation phase, Lineage went out and hired a full maintenance staff, which we trained as we were going along. Kept working with them day to day. So we have given them maintenance schedules that we would normally use to maintain our equipment. The nice thing about the Power Store system is because there's an actual aisle and row card on every level, there is the ability to take individuals down. But you're really looking at from a sort of a schedule maintenance point of view, checking through the whole system once every 3 months, maybe as late as 6 months. Depends on the amount of throughput that's going through the building. But generally speaking, you'd be looking at a full rotation through the system every 3 months. Are you saying anything different, Mike, or is that still what you're planning on?
Oh, that's totally accurate. So we took all of the manufacturer's recommendations, right, and we loaded them into our maintenance warehousing software. So we have our preventative maintenance schedules drop at those cadences. when they're supposed to drop, so that we're making sure our corrective maintenance schedules and preventative maintenance schedules are all laid out in front of us. We're able to understand what we did to what assets at what time. We're monitoring throughput levels so that those the hours of operation, like you mentioned, how much throughput you're putting over the system to what services are required. We're monitoring that and making sure that we're sticking to taking care of the system, because at the end of the day, and Craig, you're going to know this better than anyone, system uptime is everything. So any preventative maintenance we can do to stop the system from coming down is what we want to do. And then, you know, at Lineage, we also took the time to understand, hey, what does our shift structure need to look like? How do we want to handle those preventative maintenance hours, right? When do we want to take the system down? So to Craig's point, we have plenty of redundancy across the system. If we want to take a cart down in an area, we can. If we want to take a module down, we can. But we've scheduled ourselves 4 hours a day to operate on that stuff. So anything that we need to take out of the system that we can't perform that maintenance during the day, we're moving that to our downtime window of 4 hours a night, taking it down then, doing that preventative maintenance, so that during that 20 hours a day, we can fulfill all of our customers' needs.
That's very helpful. Thanks very much. And Mike, this is just a broad question for you. Can you just speak just generally to what types of products you're seeing in this facility?
So I have everything from cake ingredients to cake to cupcakes to microwave pocket sandwiches to pizza to brisket to steak to cheese. It's very, there's a lot of different, I have it all. We're going to have a party at my house and we're going to have everybody's stuff. I'm just kidding, of course, but we have a huge mix of different products that we keep in the facilities. Even right now, we have, you guys, everyone's getting ready for Thanksgiving. So I have turkeys. So if you guys are interested in turkeys, please reach out to your local vendors, order them, and probably going to come out of my building.
Interesting. At least I know why you guys got your Apple Watches and have your walking challenges on with that food mix.
That's helpful background information, and it sounds delicious. Craig, can you speak a little bit beyond this Lineage facility case study that you all have presented so nicely on? What type of facilities these automation solutions go into? Have you worked on smaller facilities for smaller companies, or just any overview on maybe some other places that these solutions have gone in?
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about the Power Store system is that it is flexible for smaller buildings and retrofits. And the nice thing is that right now we have 9 levels at the Lineage site. That was a rather prolonged and protracted debate with the city and the state of Texas trying to get the height in. If you've driven into Sunnyvale, you'll see, as you drive in, you'll see the Sunnyvale sign, and right in front of it, you got a 110-foot tall building. So we had to do quite a bit of work there. But the nice thing about the system is we can put in 2 or 3 levels. We've actually got a system in California, not far from our office, that is just 1 aisle and only 3 levels tall. So there is a lot of flexibility in this. When you get into more of a crane-based system, whether single, double, triple, or multiple deep, you're trying to amortize the cost of the crane across the number of pallets that are stored in that aisle. So unless you're able to use the height and the length to get a cost per pallet down, then it can get prohibitively expensive.
Thanks very much. We have another time for just about one more question, which we've gotten in here. Someone asks, does the system create rejects as far as product dimensions, weight, pallet, deflection, et cetera, are concerned?
So 2 things. One, the way we ended up designing it after Lineage decided to go with the Lineage Eye, and they're doing their own scans, we do not, for lack of a barcode read through the Lineage Eye, we don't reject product on that basis. So there's UFOs that actually go into the system. Lineage has the capability with their OCR to go back in after the fact and have people look and see what those pallets are, and then identify them and add it to the database. At the same time, Lineage wanted to make sure that nothing that was out of physical scope got into the system. So the Swisslog profile station looks for deflection, Deflection can be up to 3/4 of an inch on a pallet. And as everybody knows in the business in the United States, right now the pallet quality's up and down depending on the client and what's coming into the building. So we have deflection checks. We have a full profile station that looks for the overall maximum dimension, the window that we've allowed in the system, which in this case happens to be 3 inches of overhang around a standard 48 by 40 pallet. And it also looks for tilt if it's out of that scope, so it has to stay within that window. And we also look at weight. So right now, the system was designed to be a maximum of 2,500 pounds. We've actually expanded that for a client, make it 2,750. But the physical rejections on the system are done by Swisslog. We give the readings to Lineage to allow them to reject. And if you look at those inbound stations, each one has a reject lane that goes back. And there's a little work area there on a platform where the operator can make adjustments, quick adjustments to the pallets, or hard reject it from the system, in which case they might have to downstack it or do something in the exterior.
Thanks for that. With that, we will go ahead and Craig and Mike, I'll invite you to make any last comments that you'd like to make, and then we'll go ahead and close out the session.
Mike?
I would just like to say, Aaron, thank you for moderating today. Megan, Craig, Swisslog, it's been an absolute pleasure. I know we still talk all the time. I can't be more excited to see where we can take this facility in Sunnyvale and beyond. So just appreciate it. Great stuff, and thank you everybody on the line for your time as well.
Yeah, just from Swisslog, I'd like to thank Michael and Aaron as well. Megan, thanks for your help. And if any of the attendees have any further questions, feel free to get them and forward them to me at Swisslog, and I can work with Mike and get answers back to you.
Great, thank you. And I'll say that anyone with questions, feel free to send them to email@gcca.org. That's the word email @gcca.org, and we'll go ahead and direct those to Craig and Mike for the proper answers. And I'll just close us out by saying thank you, Craig. Thank you, Mike, for your time today, for that great presentation. We're very happy to have you as part of the Virtual Innovation Program. And I'll again thank our sponsor for this track, Jameson Door Company, for their generous support of the event. This is today's final session. Our program will resume tomorrow at 10 Eastern Time in the morning with best practices in the sanitary and safe transportation of perishable products. We hope you'll join us. Mike, Craig, thank you very much, and thank you to our attendees today.
Thanks again, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care.